Yo, 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 what up, y'all? It's your boy Rob coming back at you once again with another live stream. So before we get started, you already know what to do. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit the bell icon twice. Smash the like button, share this video out to all of your followers, and let's get it cracking. All right. So shout out to everybody who is in the building early. It is good to see you guys. If you can hear me okay and everything sounds good, please give me a thumbs up or a radiation emoji in the chat. If you guys cannot hear me or it sounds bad for some reason, give me a thumbs down or an angry face. While you guys are doing that, I am going to shout out everyone who is in the building. Shout out to Patricia Slade. What's good with it, Patricia? B1. We got Carlton Way in the building. We got Andretti Too Cold in the house. We got Black Free Thinker. We got John Guillory. We got my man Win Loser Rug. Black Women Stand Up. Shout out to you. All right. It's good to see each and every one of you all in the house. All right. So what we're going to do is we are going to take a couple looks at what is going on with Texas. All right. Because there's some interesting situations going on in Texas. Now, I don't know. I can't remember if it was last stream or if it was the stream before the last one. We recently talked about some of the initiatives that Governor Greg Abbott put into place in Texas within the state law in order to be able to reinforce and secure the border. All right. Do you guys remember what those things were? If you guys remember what those things were, give me a thumbs up. If you guys do not remember what those things were, give me a thumbs down. All right. So we're going to check out some of the backlash or some of the occurrences that have happened since some of these things have been put into place. All right. Defying cis and deceased. Texas begins arresting migrants. What does that mean? Texas begins arresting migrants. What's that mean, guys? Yeah, they're actually arresting migrants. Okay. Which is interesting because there's a lot of people that are outraged by this. Now, why you would be outraged by this is beyond me. These people are committing crimes and they're being detained in order to get their due process, which is also a constitutional right. Now, these people are not being targeted in any kind of way. You know what I'm saying? These people are being arrested and detained as a result of things that they are doing that are illegal, right? So here's the real question that we got to ask ourselves. Why would anybody have an issue with what's going on if that's the case? That's what we got to figure out. And shout out to everybody who's watching. We got 9 people watching and we got 16 likes. If we can get the likes up to 20, that would be great.
Well, authorities in Texas have started arresting migrants illegally crossing the border as the state's battle with the Biden administration continues to percolate. The arrest defying a cease and desist letter sent by the administration calling on Texas to allow federal border patrol agents back into that area. Of course, Eagle Pass, Texas, with more on this border battle, Allie.
Yeah, the federal fight here, Nicole, intensifying. Of course, we know DHS, the Biden administration, saying they want full access here to Shelby Park. Texas is saying no way. In fact, they're actually doubling down. Check this out. This is new concertina wire that they just put up, and it is actually topped with the anti-climb barrier up here. So we've seen a lot of individuals come through the river and over these Connex boxes here. This is there now to prevent that. And you can see right over here across the river, there's a lot.
Look at, have you all ever seen barbed wire or like any type of wire like that thick? Like it is always just mind-boggling to me. Like I'm always amazed by the thickness and intensity of that barbed wire. Like that, the image of that barbed wire is just always wild to me. Have you ever seen spools and spools and spools of razor wire like that? Like, that's just wild. And the thing that's even more wild about it is that people are actually getting through it. The fact that people are actually getting through it, honestly, what that tells me is that that stuff needs to be there. You know what I'm saying? That stuff definitely needs to be there.
A lot of activity here in Eagle Pass right now, though. On the Mexican side, you can see Mexican officials, and then we also just can also report that Director McCraw with Texas DPS just arrived here at Shelby Park as well. Now, this all comes as we have new video that shows Texas DPS arresting 10 migrants who did cross the Rio Grande illegally this morning and climbed over those Connex boxes that don't yet have that concertina wire there up on top there. Now,
so now let me ask you guys a question, and this is going to be a common sense question, but the reason why we got to ask common sense questions is because of how little common sense is actually being applied in these situations. My question for you guys is, if you were going somewhere, like say for instance you were going somewhere and you were thinking about possibly, I don't know, crossing the border or something like that, my question for you all is, if you happen to see a border wire that looks like that, would you continue going or would you stop? Me personally, if I saw something that looked like that, I'm going to probably be like, you know what? I don't need to be here, and I'm not going to continue to keep going. But that's just me. What do you guys think?
2 others among those 10 were also arrested just moments ago. Now, Lieutenant Olivares with Texas DPS is saying that troopers are enforcing criminal trespass on single adult men and women right now if they cross into Texas illegally. The undocumented individuals, they are not being turned over to Border Patrol. Instead, they're being put in jail on those trespassing charges. Now, Texas says the arrest cut off some of those pull factors of people entering the country illegally. This, as both sides right now are concerned of a potential confrontation. We're talking about the federal administration and the state level law enforcement.
So do you guys remember when I was talking about a war, a standoff between the federal government and the state government? And I was saying that in Texas, this is a situation that's actually occurring. There is an actual standoff between the state and federal governments. Now you guys just heard a mainstream media news outlet reiterate what I was saying. There is an actual standoff going down in Texas between the state and the federal government. Now, the question that you have to ask yourself is, how efficient is that? How efficient is that? Does that make any sense? How much money in taxpayer dollars do you all think are being wasted by the conflict between the federal government and the state government? I don't think that we've ever been in a situation where anything like that has gone down ever.
Sources with Border Patrol tell me that their agency actually wants an agent to be down here in the park with a body camera along the river in case a confrontation breaks out, so that they can have documented proof of that. So DHS gave Governor Abbott till the end of day.
So now I want you guys to pay attention, right? Because in most cases, they're trying to do as much as they can to not be able to have recorded evidence of what the police do. But in this situation, this is kind of counterintuitive and interesting. They actually want the police to be able to have body cams so that they can show footage of what's going on down there, which what that means is that it must actually be pretty damn bad. It must actually be pretty damn bad. Shout out to Roots Trackers. What's good with the Roots Trackers? And yeah, Carlton asked the question, Civil War coming soon. If the federal government going up against and having a standoff with a state government is not indicative of what would appear to be a precursor to a civil war, I don't know what is. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what is. What do you guys think?
That their agency actually wants an agent to be down here in the park with a body camera along the river in case a confrontation breaks out, so that they can have documented proof of that. So DHS gave Governor Abbott till the end of day on Wednesday to grant them that full access. That didn't happen. DHS threatened to take it to the Department of Justice, but we have yet to see a filing there. Now, the White House and DHS both accused Texas officials of blocking agents from helping 3 migrants in distress. A tragic situation there where a woman and 2 children drowned.
Now, my question is, there's been a lot about that particular situation in the news. My question for you guys is, how many people have heard about this situation where these 3 migrants ended up dying? What's going on with that situation is that they're blaming the Abbott administration for the death of those migrants. Now, my question for you all is, do you all believe that the death of those migrants is the fault of Governor Greg Abbott and the Texas state government? That's my question. Let me know what you all think. Also, I got another question for you. If you guys are going to be up and you all want some more live streams or some more content in a couple hours, put a 100 in the chat.
The Biden administration, however, has admitted that those 3 migrants died at least an hour before Border Patrol even sought access to the park. Homeland Security Committee Chairman Mark Green says DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, who the House is actively trying to impeach right now, as we know, is falling down on securing the border, and Texas is within its right to step in.
The real issue is that Secretary Mayorkas is not living up to his constitutional mandate to protect the borders of the country. And the state of Texas has said under the Constitution that they have a right to do so when the federal government fails. And I believe, what Texas is saying is the right position on that issue.
Over your right shoulder.
Okay, so right now we can see that Border Patrol does have a boat in the water right here at the boat ramp. And I can tell you this, that Border Patrol has never been blocked from putting their boats in the water or retrieving their boats. They have had access to this boat ramp. What DHS wants is they want that full access. They want to be able to process and receive migrants here. Texas is saying that isn't going to happen. And there was a victory for the Abbott administration here this week as well. The Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals granted them an extension at the rehearing of the case, Nicole. So for those buoys, those big orange marine barriers, those will be able to stay in place until that case is heard now in May. So a lot going on in Texas.
Yeah.
When I tell you there's a lot of activity, Dave, I'm going to ask you, I'm sorry, they're telling me to wrap, but I just want to show you here. So we've got Director McCraw over here, along with Florida Wildlife Commission and other DPS officials. Okay, Nicole, we'll send it back to you.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't
Uh-oh. What the hell? Oh, I'm irritated. Oh man, it's gonna be this big giant gap in the stream. So what I'm gonna tell you guys is this. What I'm about to do with this live stream is that I'm gonna finish up this live stream and then I'm gonna download it and I'm gonna edit it and I'm gonna edit out that part where there's that big gap, and then I'm gonna run it as a premiere on BLR1. All right. Now, what I'm gonna do though is I'm gonna put it on unlisted. So if you're a Patreon member, if for whatever reason you want to see this live stream with all of the annoying technical difficulties, I don't know why you would want to do that. But if that's something that you want to do, you know what I'm saying, that will be there for you. You know what I'm saying? But if that's not something that you want to do, I'll have a cleaned up version of this and I will run that version on BLR1. You know what I'm saying? So my apologies to everybody for the tech difficulties. I try to minimize those tech difficulties. You guys know I'm OCD as hell. I can't stand when they happen. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to start this over again. All right, so let's get it.
In Texas have started arresting migrants illegally crossing the border as the states battle with arrestifying a cease and desist letter sent by the administration to allow federal border patrol agents back into that area taken over by the state's National Guard. Correspondent Allie Bradley's live for us in Eagle Pass, Texas, with more on this border battle. Allie.
Yeah, the federal fight here, Nicole, intensifying. Of course, we know DHS, the Biden administration, saying they want full access here to Shelby Park. Texas is saying no way. In fact, they're actually doubling down. Check this out. This is new concertina wire that they just put up, and it is actually topped with the anti-climb barrier up here. So we've seen a lot of individuals come through the river and over these Connex boxes here. This is there now to prevent that. And you can see right over here across the river, there's a lot of activity here in Eagle Pass. Right now, though, on the Mexican side, you can see Mexican can also report that Director McCraw with Texas DPS just arrived here at Shelby Park as well. Now, this all comes as we have new video that shows Texas DPS arresting 10 migrants who did cross the Rio Grande illegally this morning and climbed over those Connex boxes that don't yet have that concertina wire there up on top there. Now, 2 others among those 10 were also arrested just moments ago. Now, Lieutenant Olivares with Texas DPS is saying that troopers are enforcing criminal trespass on single adult men and women right now if they cross into Texas illegally. The undocumented individuals, they are not being turned over to Border Patrol. Instead, they're being put in jail on those trespassing charges. Now, Texas says the arrest cut off some of those pull factors of people entering the country illegally. This as both sides right now are concerned of a potential confrontation. We're talking about the federal administration and the state level law enforcement. Sources with Border Patrol tell me that their agency actually wants an agent to be down here in the park with a body camera along the river in case a confrontation breaks out so that they can have documented proof of that. So DHS gave Governor Abbott till the end of day on Wednesday to grant them that full access. That didn't happen. DHS threatened to take it to the Department of Justice, but we have yet to see a filing there. Now, the White House and DHS both accused Texas officials of blocking agents from helping 3 migrants in distress. A tragic situation there where a woman and 2 children drowned. The Biden administration, however, has admitted that those 3 migrants died at least an hour before Border Patrol even sought access to the park. Homeland Security Committee Chairman Mark Green says DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, who the House is actively trying to impeach right now, as we know, is falling down on securing the border, and Texas is within its right to step in.
The real issue is that Secretary Mayorkas is not living up to his constitutional mandate to protect the borders of the country. And the state of Texas has said under the Constitution that they have a right to do so when the federal government fails. And I believe, what Texas is saying is the right position on that issue. Over your right shoulder.
Okay, so right now we can see that Border Patrol does have a boat in the water right here at the boat ramp. And I can tell you this, that Border Patrol has never been blocked from putting their boats in the water or retrieving their boats. They have had access to this boat ramp. What DHS wants is they want that full access. They want to be able to process and receive migrants here. Texas is saying that isn't going to happen. And there was a victory for the Abbott administration here this week as well. The FISC granted them the rehearing of the case, Nicole. So for those buoys, those big orange marine barriers, those will be able to stay in place until that case is heard now in May. So a lot going on in Texas. Yeah. When I tell you there's a lot of activity. Wait, Dave, I'm going to ask you. I'm sorry, they're telling me to wrap, but I just want to show you here. So we've got Director McCraw over here along with Florida.
All right, so there's that. All right, my apologies, guys. My apologies. So there's that. All right. So they are arresting some of those migrants who are crossing over the border. All right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to check out another video, and this video here is from CBS, and it's also talking about the new measures that are being instituted by Texas. So now what I want to ask you guys is I want to ask you guys a question about policy. When it comes to how this is being dealt with by Texas, do you all feel that Texas's measures of dealing with this situation are more effective than anything that's being proposed by Denver, Chicago, or New York City? If you do, then give me a thumbs up. If you think that this is a better idea and more effective than what those three cities are proposing, give me a thumbs up. If you don't think so, then give me a thumbs down.
It starts at the crisis on the border in Eagle Pass, right near the U.S. border with Mexico. CBS News Texas cameras caught migrants giving themselves up and wanted Texas law enforcement to arrest them. This is happening as the Texas response to migration ramps up even more, with the National Guard putting up new razor wire this week in and around Eagle Pass. For weeks now, we've been telling you what's happening in Eagle Pass, and it's held the attention of the nation, especially in Shelby Park. That is where the Texas Military Department right now is arresting migrants and blocking access to federal agents. Our Ken Molestina got in to understand that is where state officials explain to you they are arresting migrants, but not federal authorities.
Right, and we're going to explain all of that. You should know, first of all, Nicole, the Texas Military Department, on the orders from Governor Greg Abbott, they took over Shelby Park about a week and a half ago, and as you mentioned, effectively limiting access to both federal and local authorities here inside that park. But earlier today, we were allowed in. We had access to take a look at the operation in there, including this new arrest policy that Texas DPS troopers are now enforcing.
And in this here is Shelby Park. This is
Texas DPS Cordova took us inside Shelby Park. DPS is the only agency allowed full access here by the Texas Military Department. And as of just a couple of nights ago, Texas troopers have started arresting migrants who cross into the park illegally for criminal trespass. We witnessed a 19-year-old woman and a 31-year-old man from Guatemala placed into handcuffs and taken away.
the only people that they are arresting are single males, but they must be at least 18 years of age.
Sergeant Cordova says this new arrest authority is not the same as the proposed Senate Bill 4. This comes under a disaster declaration from Governor Abbott, and it's meant to serve as a...
I want you guys to pay close attention to that. Did you guys see, like, it looks like a war zone. You see how they got Border Patrol right there? And then do you all see all of the military personnel that are right there? There's definitely something behind this with the military personnel who are down there. If you guys agree, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. Now, if you're not subscribed on Twitter to the Undocumented Twitter, please take a moment and go over there and subscribe. You don't need to leave. The bots will put the link in the chat for you. But make sure you guys subscribe to the Twitter channel, okay?
At least 18 years of age.
Sergeant Cordova says this new arrest authority is not the same as the proposed Senate Bill 4. This comes under a disaster declaration from Governor Abbott, and it's meant to serve as a deterrent.
Once you start enforcing that law, the word will get out real quick and it'll start deterring people away from this area.
That was a case about a mile upstream from Shelby Park where we met a pair of migrants named Edwin and Wilmer from Guatemala who say they were looking for another area to cross where they wouldn't be immediately arrested. Ahora, ¿cuál es el plan? What's your plan right now?
I mean, like, I'm not trying to be funny, but you can literally get arrested for crossing anywhere down there because they're crossing illegally. So what I want you guys to understand is that not only are these people crossing illegally, but these people have criminal plans to cross illegally. Like, they're coming through with a plan. Yeah, you know, we're going to come in illegally. They're making plans and scheming. And again, what we're dealing with is we're dealing with people who are committing criminal offenses, but this situation is not being treated as criminality. That's one of the things that we really had a discussion about and talking about. And honestly, the mainstream media needs to be asking that question as well. But that's not something that the mainstream media is even bringing up. Shout out to Torian. What's good with it, bro?
Go look for Border Patrol? So what they just said is that they're walking along the border here. They're looking for Border Patrol agents so that they can surrender to them. They're going to keep going upstream here. Obviously, they can't cross here because of the barbed wire. Those responsible for the enforcement here say it's working, with numbers of crossings dramatically dropping. But for migrant advocates and Eagle Pass residents like America Garcia, this scale of operation is just too heavy-handed.
I would not have expected that this was possible in a democratic country. It just doesn't seem like something that
She said that the scale of operation is impossible. So basically what we're seeing is that when it comes to anybody that's involved with this, when it comes to everybody that's involved with this, regardless of what side of the spectrum that you're on, whatever it is that you're doing, whatever it is that you think you're doing, it's unsustainable. Okay? It's unsustainable. And real quick, shout out to everybody that's watching. We got 21 people watching and we got 21 likes. If everybody can bang on that like button, also share the stream. And if you haven't, hit that bell and subscribe. Hit the bell and subscribe. We're getting close to 500. We need to get to that 500, and I'm sure that we can. So let's get it.
we would do.
She's part of the Eagle Pass Border Coalition, who's pushing for the tension between state and federal authorities at Shelby Park to end.
I want the people from Texas Military Department and Department of Public Safety to go home, not from.
This is going away anytime soon, unchanged, higher up. But this is a situation that's not going to go away overnight.
That is the situation. The Texas Military Department, they have not granted any on-camera interviews, but a spokesperson for TMD tells me that just last night they had 54 encounters with migrants here at Shelby Park. They say compare that to their peak about a week and a half ago when they had 2,000 encounters within a 24-hour time frame. Now, I should also tell you that U.S. Customs officials have sent the state of...
Yeah, I gotta agree with Patricia, and Patricia brings up a great point. Patricia says, y'all notice they are blaming everybody except Biden. Yeah. Yeah. Now, my question is, why is that? There's only one media outlet that's solely putting the blame on Biden. Shout out to Sybil. What's good with it, Sybil?
of Texas a cease and desist order so that TMD can pull out of here and once again give border agents full access to Shelby Park. But as you can see, that has not happened.
Yeah, Ken, it's important to note the distinction of those numbers, you know, weeks from the other day, you know, 2,000 to 54, like you said. But it's also important to note the arrests that we're seeing right now are not under the new SB4 law, because that's not supposed to go into effect until March, right? The governor did sign it. State officials, it's in place to go into effect. But what is the difference between the arrest that we're seeing right now and what we could see in the next couple of months?
Well, as you mentioned, SB4, if that even does go effective, that clears all of the legal hurdles. That's based specifically on migrants who cross over illegally. If a state of Texas police officer or a trooper sees that, they can arrest them for the crime of entering the country illegally. What they're arresting them for here is for being on private property. It's a criminal trespass arrest. So again, those are the two differences. But criminal trespass, obviously, it is an arrestable offense in the state of Texas, and it is punishable. So that is the main difference here, Nicole.
Ken Molestina live for us down in Eagle Pass. We appreciate you. This is a big story, Ken. Thanks.
All right, so there's that. All right. So as you guys can see, it's going down in Texas. So now I don't know if you all were aware, but it's gotten so bad down there in Texas that, again, we've already seen this, that they have the military down there. The military is using military equipment to attempt to deter illegal border crossing. They're using riot shields now to stop illegal border crossing. Now, my question is, if you're using riot shields to try to stop border crossing, that to me sounds like there's a riot if you're using riot shields to deter what's going on. Would you guys agree? If you guys agree with that, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. And yeah, I've heard that too. We're going to be talking about that soon. Shout out to Andretti. Andretti said, I heard Russians and Chinese are popping up down there. Now, if you're subscribed to this channel, we've talked about the Chinese and the Russian people who were down there, but that was a couple months ago. And since then, there have been more down there. Okay.
Start tonight at the border shutdown, and the clock is ticking in Texas. The Lone Star State has until midnight to stop blocking federal Border Patrol agents from accessing part of the southern border. Otherwise, the Biden administration says it is sending the matter to the Department of Justice. Well, this
now
situation...
here goes my question. Why is the Biden administration doing anything? The only thing that the Biden administration should be doing is taking measures to make sure, or doing measures to make sure that that border stays secure. Why is it that they're making efforts to try to interfere with this? Now, there's a ton of different stuff that Greg Abbott does that they could interfere with that would be justified. However, if you ask me, this is one of the things that Abbott is actually doing right. So now, something that Abbott is doing, to me, that's actually right. That actually, if he's able to do this with autonomy, it should decrease the amount of migrants. Because what's interesting about this is that the federal government doesn't want Abbott to do this, right? But if Abbott does this and does it successfully, it would decrease the burden on Chicago, Denver, and New York, which is what Chicago, Denver, and New York are complaining about anyway. So if Abbott is successful at this, it seems to me like it will be a situation where everybody wins. So why is it that the Biden administration is so against Abbott successfully getting this off? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section.
It may seem like a political standoff between the White House and a deep red state. It is much more than that. A woman and 2 children drowned in the Rio Grande River Friday night while trying to enter the U.S. in this exact location. The feds at first blamed Texas. Texas says it's not on them. Regardless, the stakes are life and death. And correspondent Allie Bradley joins me now live. Allie, we're just...
Now, again, if some migrants decided to cross illegally, how does it become Texas's responsibility? If I illegally obtain a gun and I shoot myself and harm myself with that gun, is it the alcohol, tobacco, and firearms responsibility? Like, is that on them that I hurt myself with a gun that I had illegally? I want you guys, everything that they say, process it and try to make logical sense of it. And if it does not make logical sense, continue to talk about it in terms of logic. Okay?
6 hours away from that deadline, and you have exclusive video that shows just how heated this situation is.
Yeah, hey, Elizabeth. So we actually just got a response as well to that DHS cease and desist letter that they filed here. Attorney General Ken Paxton saying that the federal government has many false claims that they've made in this situation.
You could tell Allie, she making some money. She doing all that overtime. She used to be, when we first started talking about this, and she was one of the people that was down on the ground at Eagles Pass. She was real like skinny, like anorexic. She started to get some chick mump cheeks. She getting some big paychecks. She eating good.
Ken Paxton even saying at one point that the federal government, it's their job to secure the border, and strictly ask them, when are you going to start? Texas military using riot shields to keep migrants from illegally entering the U.S. This is a scene that News Nation captured at Shelby Park in Eagle Pass, Texas. Texas authorities have had full control of the area, a major migrant crossing hub, for several days now, after Governor Abbott seized the park last week. Barricades have been set up around the park, and Border Patrol are not...
Yeah, that's facts. Shout out to Roots Trackers. Roots Trackers said, didn't Jim Crow Joe threatened to sue Abbott if he put migrants on a bus, train, or plane out of Texas? Yeah, he did. And he also threatened to sue Abbott if Abbott didn't stop the military action down there at the border. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Carlton. Carlton crazy. Carlton said Allie gained weight, got her hair did. All right now, man, that's hilarious, bro. Hey, the overtime hours, man. You can always tell, man, sometimes people be dusty. You know what I'm saying? They be struggling, trying to get it together. Then once they start working some overtime and getting a little bit of money, you start noticing some interesting stuff. It's like, oh, okay, you actually getting a paycheck now. Good for you. You know what I'm saying?
allowed in. Texas National Guard seen here deploying a command post. The governor's actions now creating a standoff with federal authorities. The Department of Homeland Security is calling for Texas to, quote, cease and desist. In a letter to the state's attorney general, DHS threatening legal action, demanding the state take down all barriers and stop blocking Border Patrol from accessing Shelby Park by the end of the day. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton responding saying, quote, Texas has lawyers too, and I will continue to stand up for this state's constitutional powers of self-defense. The White House calling Texas Governor Greg Abbott's actions extreme.
Blocking Border Patrol.
Now they got Jean Pierre up here. My question for you guys is, do you all think that Abbott's actions are extreme? Shout out to my man U-Law. What's good with it, bro? I don't think that Abbott's actions are extreme. I think that what Abbott is doing is exactly what's necessary to be able to secure the border. I don't think that what he's doing is extreme. I believe that they're saying that it's extreme because they don't feel that the government should be defied. However, the government isn't the ones who are literally having this issue right at their doorstep and trying to handle this on their own either. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, shout out to Roots Tracker, shout out to Andretti, shout out to Volvo. You guys all said nope. I'm in agreement with you guys. I don't think that this is extreme. Again, there are things that Abbott is extreme on. We could do multiple streams about them. However, interestingly, this isn't one of them, and this is the one that Joe Biden decides to focus on and literally attempts to physically get in the way of. You know what I'm saying?
From accessing the border, that's a problem. When he's blocking them and putting Texas officials, then he's taking away the duties of what the Border Patrol is supposed to do. He continues to prove
no, he's not.
He's not interested.
How is he taking away from what the Border Patrol is supposed to do if the reason why he's doing it is because the Border Patrol isn't doing it? Let me ask you guys this. If the Border Patrol was actually doing their job, do you all think that Governor Abbott would be doing what he's doing right now? If you guys think that's the case, then give me a thumbs up. If you guys don't think that that's the case, then give me a thumbs down.
He's not really interested in solutions, only seeking to politicize the border.
I believe Governor Abbott is within his authority to protect the people of Texas. He has that charge in the Texas Constitution and the U.S. Constitution.
Governor Abbott says he is doing what the federal government is failing to do when it comes to securing the border.
And clearly all of the numbers across all of the places where this migrant crisis is, concentrated at, these numbers are clearly showing that the Biden administration is failing at securing the border. And the thing that to me, that gives Texas the right to be able to do this is that it's not like we're talking about Kansas. We're talking about Texas, and Texas is a special circumstance because if the federal intervention is not effective, the people entering the country from Mexico can have a direct impact on Texas. So if the federal government is not doing its job, it's hurting the areas where Texas does have the jurisdiction. So if the federal government fails to do its job, I think that Texas has its right to be able to step in and say, our protection isn't adequate enough. We're taking this into our own hands. I don't see why that's even up for debate. I don't see why that's even up for debate. Do you guys?
Comes after a woman and 2 children drowned last week in Eagle Pass. Federal authorities blame Texas, saying agents were not allowed to respond to the scene due to the state seizing control of the park. But further investigation revealed that Border Patrol was not informed about the incident until after it happened. The Border Patrol union now blasting the federal response as propaganda. Now, this all comes as GOP congressional lawmakers are putting pressure on President Biden, trying to hold out for that border security funding versus giving that Ukraine funding over. So that's one of the sticking points right now, Elizabeth. Another big thing we're watching is tomorrow, the Homeland Security Committee is going to have their second impeachment proceeding for DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. Now, despite multiple attempts to get
now, the thing is, Mayorkas is not going to get impeached. When is the last time anybody has seen anybody get impeached? Nobody's getting impeached. You know what I'm saying? This is all theatrics.
To show up in person. I'm told from Chairman Green there, Elizabeth, that he will not be showing up. They have extended him an opportunity to submit testimony verbally or via a written testimony there, Elizabeth.
All right, lots of drama. Hopefully Congress, for the first time in decades, will actually pass an immigration reform package. Definitely needed down there on the border. Thanks, Allie. Thanks so much.
All right, so there's that. All right. So now my question is, how many of you all remember that old video that I did on BLR1 about Operation Lone Star, where we talked about all of the devices that Governor Greg Abbott put into the Rio Grande in order to deter migrants? They put floating barriers in the water. They put razor wire fence inside of the water. They put razor wire fence on the border. And then the Biden administration came and cut it all down. This is a video here talking about Texas's floating border wall, and it's going to stay floating in Rio Grande after federal court reversal. So now let me ask you guys this. Who is it that wants them to not be able to have this? And why should they not be able to have it? As far as I'm concerned, they should definitely be able to have this, again, to be able to secure their own border. Because what the evidence is showing is that the Biden administration's methods are not competent when it comes to securing the southern border. So if the Biden's methods are not competent and what's going on is directly affecting the state, why shouldn't the state be allowed to take its destiny into its own hands?
Governor Abbott's floating border barrier will remain in place in the Rio Grande. It's the latest court decision in the ongoing legal battle between Governor Abbott and the White House over border security. Fox 4's Alex Boyer has a breakdown of today's ruling. Alex.
Hi, Clarice. You know, a majority of the 17 justices who make up the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals have opted to hear the buoy barrier case. So that is why an earlier decision by a 3-member panel of the same court that called for the buoys to be removed has now been vacated. I talked to a constitutional law attorney about this somewhat unique circumstance. Will the floating barrier in the Rio Grande River stay or will it go? That is the question now before the entire Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals in New Orleans after a surprise move Wednesday.
There's a lot of back and forth about this. Texas placed a set of buoys in the Rio Grande to deter people from crossing.
David Cole is a constitutional law attorney who has been watching this case closely. In June of last year, the state of Texas spent $1 million to deploy a string of buoys in the Rio Grande to deter migrants from illegally crossing near Eagle Pass. The federal government.
Do you all see how much money is being spent? Do you all see how much money is being spent? Let me ask you guys this question. What are some other things that this money could be spent on that would be a better investment than what it's currently being spent on? Let me know what you guys think.
Sued to have them removed and won in court initially.
A federal trial judge told him to remove it. And after some skirmishing about emergency stays, a panel, 3 judges, which is how the Fifth Circuit does most of its business, a Fifth Circuit panel held a few months ago that the federal government side was correct and the state needed to remove the barrier, the buoys.
But on Wednesday, the court vacated the panel's 2-1 ruling after a majority of its 17 active judges voted to rehear the case, a somewhat rare legal process referred to as en banc, French for on the bench.
So it showed an interesting difference in opinion. The panel, by just luck of the draw, happened to have 2 judges appointed by Democratic presidents and another judge recently appointed by President Trump. On the Fifth Circuit, the makeup is considerably more conservative.
Cole says it will take some time for all of the justices to coordinate their schedules. So for now, the series of linked concrete anchored buoys that stretch roughly the length of 3 soccer fields will remain in place.
So they pick out a handful of cases every year for review by the full court, and this one made the cut.
And Cole tells me he expects the Fifth Circuit to hear this case sometime in May. He also says,
man, it to me, it's just these floating buoys. This is wild, man. And like, what's crazy? Look, we're gonna look at this. What's crazy is that they have all of this in place. They have all of this in place, and it's still not deterring people. They got all of this in place down there, and it's still not deterring people.
Abbott announced a new water-based border barrier he says will keep people from crossing.
The governor showed a section of border buoys after signing several border security-related bills today. Fox 4's Alex Boyer live tonight with more. Alex.
hey guys, you know, and we knew that Governor Abbott, of course, was set to sign several bills related to border security at the state capitol today. But then at the end of that signing is when he revealed these new images of what he called a floating border wall that he says will further deter people from trying to cross in illegally.
This is a new water-based barrier of buoys.
At a border security bill signing ceremony in Austin Thursday, Governor Greg Abbott unveiled a new tool being deployed to help secure the southern border, military-grade buoys.
It's something we can do quickly. We can put it there, and it deters large groups of people from moving in that area, and we can control it.
The state has purchased 1,000 feet of the buoys at a cost of approximately $1 million. The head of DPS, Colonel Steve McCraw, says they are about 4 feet high, equipped with weights and netting, and designed to rotate to help keep people from scaling them. On its website, the security company Cochrane...
Hey, so if you... So they rotate. So if you try to climb up them things, it's going to spin like... it's going to spin like a hamster wheel. You're going to be sitting up there trying to climb up that thing, and it's going to be it's going to be spinning in place.
Equipped with weights and netting and designed to rotate to help keep people from scaling them. On its website, the security company Cochrane describes them as marine floating barriers.
Oh, shit. Look at that. They got metal. What? How many people ever watched that cartoon called Jason the Wheel Warriors? Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Win, lose a rug. Shout out to Win, lose a rug. Yeah, they got wheel or they got spikes on them. Man, imagine if you got caught on one of them things. Yo, that's crazy. Man, that's wild. Hey, what would Ply say about this? Hey, what would Ply say about this? Why y'all sit up there why y'all sit up there hating on them migrant out there? Y'all sit up there hating. These motherfuckers gotta go do all kind of shit to get in here. And y'all get past these ball down there with them spikes all over. Hey, this is the way I feel about it. Anybody can't get through the country, get through them spikes with them balls on there. They deserve to be here because y'all motherfuckers ain't nothing but lazy and privileged. They got Super Mario obstacles in the water. Right. They be playing Super Mario Brothers, the mariachi version. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. And instead of getting rings, they got to get past them things and get pesos. Man, that's crazy, man.
The buoys displayed at the news conference did not appear to have spiked attachments. They'll be put in the river in Eagle Pass.
Oh, okay. So
is currently
hey, they made that clear. The ones that's in Texas, they don't have the spikes on them. So the thing is that he could have got them with the spikes on them. He could have got these ones. But instead, he got these ones without the spikes on them. Plies would be like, Rock, I don't know what y'all sitting up there talking about. Y'all don't be doing nothing like this. Y'all won't even go to the gym. Only real one climb the one with this spike on it. And you climb that one with this spike on it, you deserve to be here. You know what I'm saying? That is something he would say.
Displayed at the news conference did not appear to have spiked attachments. They'll be put in the river in Eagle Pass, which McCraw said is currently ground zero for illegal border crossing.
Because of the water and the buoyancy of these, it's very difficult to be able to go through these. Very difficult to come over.
It's not a new idea. President Trump asked his staff to evaluate floating barriers to supplement his border wall project back in 2020. Abbott's version is the latest tactic at the state level to try and secure the border. In preparation of Title 42 being lifted.
Man, they really walking through there like Walking Dead, man. That's crazy. Look at them. Look at these spools of razor wire. Look at this.
Texas DPS and the Texas National Guard installed miles of razor wire.
Man, I'm telling you, anytime y'all gonna get annoyed with me, but anytime they're unraveling those spools of razor wire, or anytime there's just a giant concentrated knot of razor wire, I gotta stop and be like, look at all that razor wire, because all of that, man, that just fascinates me. And that's just wild to me. Where do you buy razor wire at like that? I'm not trying to be funny, but if I ever am able to get the type of house that I want, I definitely want that kind of wire around my house. You know what I'm saying?
Texas is no longer ground zero for this crisis. Texas is a stronghold.
Illegal crossings between points of entry have slowed in recent weeks, possibly because violators now face a threat of long-term expulsion. But for Abbott, border security remains a top legislative priority. At Thursday's ceremony, he signed 6 bills related to border security. Among them, SB 1900, which now classifies Mexican drug cartels as foreign terrorists.
Yeah, they classify Mexican drug cartels as terrorists. Now, that's interesting. And I'm going to tell you guys why. Let me first ask you guys this question here. Do you all feel or believe that drug cartels are indeed terrorists? Let's start there. If you guys do feel and believe that Mexican drug cartels are terrorists, give me a thumbs up. If you don't feel that Mexican drug cartels are terrorists, give me a thumbs down. Now, remember, this is Texas, right? Texas is making the declaration that Mexican drug cartels are terrorists. Now, if you ask me, right, I don't really see an issue with calling any criminal a terrorist, because criminals terrorize the community, and terrorists are people who commit the act of and are experts in terrorizing or terrorism. Right? Now, the reason why I say that is because I'm going to show you guys this real quick. There's a situation going on in Oklahoma, okay? And the situation that's going on in Oklahoma is a situation similar to this, except for it's not the Mexican cartel that's being addressed. It's Hispanic gangs, okay? So now what I'm going to ask you is, do you feel that it's racist to call gangs terrorists? Any gang. Here's how I feel. If the gang is actually a gang, if you're not just making this up like Fox News does, talking about an entire group of people, like calling the citizens of Chicago terrorists, if you're actually talking about an organization that is causing terror, I don't think that that's racist. However, there's backlash for this bill. They said that this bill targets the Latino community. No, this bill targets the criminal community, right? The entire Latino community is not a criminal community, but they're calling Hispanic gangs terrorists. Now, what I find fascinating is that when we make these distinctions, people literally act like they have no idea what we're saying. But when it's other groups of people that are dealing with similar issues, everybody jumps out of the window to attempt to be everybody's defense attorney and lawyer. And it doesn't make any sense. Watch this.
A bill filed this session is gaining a lot of pushback. Many are saying the legislation is outright racist. Fox 25's Capitol reporter Peyton May joining us here live. So Peyton, which community does this controversy surround?
Well, Wendy, Representative J.J. Humphrey is filing a bill specifically aimed at the Latino community. While his goal was to crack down on cartel activity,
How is it aimed specifically at the Latino community? It's aimed at Latino criminals. Are Latino people saying that their community is equivalent to criminality? I want you guys to pay very close attention to this. Pay close attention to this.
A bill filed this session is gaining a lot of pushback. Many are saying the legislation is outright racist. Fox 25's Capitol reporter Peyton May joining us here live. So Peyton, which community does this controversy surround?
Well, Wendy, Representative J.J. Humphrey is filing a bill specifically aimed at the Latino community. While his goal was to crack down on cartel activity, many don't think he's taking the right approach.
We have seen a flood.
Cartels are exclusively Hispanic, right? Like, let's deal with that real quick. Aren't cartels exclusively Hispanic? Is that something that is being made up, or are we in the Twilight Zone here, or is that true? Last time I checked, cartels were specifically Hispanic. Last time I checked. Who else is part of a cartel? Carlton, crazy as hell. Shout out to Carlton. Carlton said that looks like B-roll from The Walking Dead. Yeah, that's facts. And I agree, Black Freethinker, but in a general sense, when we're talking about people coming in from the southern border, let's make it a little bit more specific, because you're right. But for purposes of this discussion, let's make it more specific, because you're right. There could be Italian cartels, it could be Portuguese cartel, and cartel is indeed a general term. But when we're talking about southern border action and drug transport from South America, Central America, and Mexico, to put parameters on our discussion, people that are coming from there, you know what I'm saying?
Illegal immigrants come over our borders, bringing human trafficking, illegal drugs, but especially fentanyl.
That is the reason Representative Humphrey says he filed House
See, he said that's the big problem is fentanyl. So, you know, we're dealing with fentanyl.
Bill 3133, spelling out that if someone is of, quote, Hispanic descent, a member of a gang, and has been convicted of a gang-related offense, they should be deemed terrorists and have all property, vehicles, and money taken.
Considering that the author who filed this is the same person who proposed to issue hunting licenses for Sasquatches, unfortunately, for better or for worse, it wasn't super surprising that.
Man, you can't make this up. That don't help. Now the thing is, right, this bill that he proposed, you know, I could either live with or without it. But now, you know, the fact that, you know, it was targeting some border action, I could kind of say, yeah, that makes sense. But now, if this dude is out here trying to issue hunting licenses for Sasquatches, come on, bro. What are we doing down here? But I could kind of tell that it was going that direction when he sat up there and said, they bringing over that fentanyl. So you already know what we're dealing with. You know, this guy uses a can of chew every day.
Who filed this is the same person who proposed to issue hunting licenses for Sasquatches. Unfortunately, for better or for worse, it wasn't super surprising that he would jump on this bandwagon as well.
One of the issues, Senator Michael Brooks, the chair of the legislative.
Shout out to Black Free Thinker. And this is exactly what I'm saying. And I want y'all to let me know how y'all feel in the comment section. Like I had told Black Free Thinker, and like I had, or not specifically told Black Free Thinker, but like I had told everybody on streams before, it's to the point now where the insanity is so far to the left that if you simply have common sense, people are going to automatically lump you in with the right. Like, if you think that men should use men bathrooms and women should use women bathrooms, you're all of a sudden a right-wing MAGA Trump supporter. You see how the trolls do in my comment section. Are you serious? Really? You're going to assume that I was at January 6th because I think men should use men bathrooms and women should use women bathrooms. That's where we're at nowadays. Would you guys agree that that's literally where we're at nowadays?
Latino caucus has with this legislation is it directly targets his community.
To have the law treat people differently based on their race or ethnicity only creates greater divides.
People are making a big issue out of the fact that I use Hispanic. You know, I probably did use that when I was originally writing this because it is Hispanic gangs that are mainly that we're talking about. The Mexican cartels, 2 of them.
After hearing that he offended many of our Latino neighbors, friends, and family members, he's decided to take a second look at the language.
I will go back and change that language to say undocumented, here illegally.
Man, he's still in the name of the he copying off of my he's copying off of my channel. He calling it undocumented. Did y'all hear him? You better say fair use, boy.
Change that language to say undocumented.
Bruh. You better say fair use, boy.
Here illegally, something like that.
But Senator Brooks doesn't think that will put a Band-Aid on a bill he finds completely unconstitutional.
The bill is fatally flawed, and I don't know if there's much of a way to be able to change it.
Now, I asked Representative Humphrey if he's going to be filing any other legislation to include decreasing all gang activity, regardless of race or ethnicity.
Hey. All gangs matter. They trying to all gangs matter this border issue. I want y'all to pay attention to that. AGM. They trying to all gangs matter this. All gangs ain't coming across the border.
custody. He told me he will also be focusing on another minority group, Chinese nationals, and alleged involvement with illegal marijuana grows. Reporting live, Peyton.
Now, again, now, mind you, right? Did y'all hear that? He talking about these Chinese nationals dealing with these this marijuana. He talking about Chinese nationals dealing with marijuana. They're coming in over the border as well. They're coming in over the border as well. So now let's deal with this particular situation. Where are these Chinese nationals coming from, and why are they coming at all? Anybody got any idea? I want y'all to think about that. Think about that, guys. And here's an even better question. Why aren't we hearing about it in the national news? Because we should be. Now, mind you, that right there, that's what's going on in Oklahoma. That wasn't in Texas. That was in Oklahoma. So now we got to ask, when we watch these live streams or when we watch these news articles and we hear where these migrants want to go, why don't they divert the migrants to areas that have a low concentration of gang members so that they don't get there and link up with the gangs? Because if you ask me, one of the reasons why they choose the places that they're going to is so that they can link up with some of the fellow gang members. If you guys agree, give me a thumbs up. If y'all disagree, give me a thumbs down.
As foreign terrorists, adding them to organized crime offenses under state law, which results in higher penalties. Another bill, SB 423, authorizes the Texas Military Department to use drones to secure the border.
What they are doing now is deploying a strategy that no state has ever before deployed to stop people from entering Texas illegally.
And another law now on the books, SB 1133, helps Texas ranchers living in border communities who have had their agricultural properties damaged by illegal immigrants or smugglers, providing them with up to...
You know what? And Andre Too Cold brings up a good point. Is it time for them to start talking about a special border task force that deals with illegal entry of organized criminals? And have that organization work with an organization that has jurisdiction in the United States to try to break up the unification of criminal enterprises across borders? I don't think they have a border patrol that specifically deals with that. But with this migrant crisis out of control, I think that might be something that's not a bad idea. If you guys think that that's a good idea, give me a thumbs up. If you guys don't think that that's a good idea, give me a thumbs down.
$75,000 per incident.
These farms and ranches have been ripped apart.
And Colonel McGraw said that the barriers will be added in Eagle Pass on July 7th, but then he added, of course, that they can be moved wherever they are needed. It was also revealed today that 11 other states have now sent members of their National Guard to Texas to help secure the southern border.
So now other states have sent the National Guard to Texas.
I want to
We're going to take a look at this. This right here is a video of Governor Abbott talking about deploying that floating wall. Okay, real quick, ladies and gentlemen, shout out to everybody that's watching. I appreciate each and every one of you all. If you all haven't smashed that like button yet, please help me out and take a moment, smash that like button. Also, if you have not hit the bell and subscribe to the channel, please take a moment, hit the bell and subscribe to the channel. And please share the stream to your social media. And I was going to download this and edit it, but now it's getting to the point where the processing of the editing would take too long because the video is long. So if you watch this video on the replay, make sure that you hashtag replay viewer or replay gang. All right.
I want to give you breaking news. I mentioned earlier that the Texas legislature provided the state $5.1 billion to secure the border. I also told you we always look to employ whatever strategies will be effective in securing the border. Under Colonel McCraw and General Seltzer, they came together to employ this strategy. This is a new water-based barrier of buoys that you can see what it will look like in the river, where we can put mile after mile after mile of these buoys. To go back, what we're doing right now, we're securing the border at the border. What these buoys will allow us to do is to prevent people from even getting to the border. This is what they look like up close. This is what they would look like from the sky.
Now, here's the thing, right? When it comes to Governor Abbott, what is this doing? This is a barrier that's put here to be a deterrent to, one, stop border encounters, which if the border encounters are stopped, it would decrease the amount of illegal entries. Both of those are the two factors that we isolated that, if addressed, would easily, significantly stop the migrant crisis. So the fact that the Biden administration is attempting to stop him from doing this literally is in action evidence that they have no interest in stopping the crisis. If you guys agree with that, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. And if there's anybody that disagrees with me, please explain to me how or why you disagree.
A longer strand. And that process is beginning pretty much immediately. Along those lines, I'm going to have Colonel McCraw speak and then General Seltzer before I take questions, but Colonel McCraw can provide you more information about the deployment of these buoys.
Thank you, Governor. Well, first, I'd like to say that 90 years ago, public enemy number one were the gangsters. Pretty Boy Floyd, John Dillinger, the Brady Group, Bonnie and Clyde. Today, public enemy number one are the Mexican cartels.
Well, besides the Bonnie and Clyde, most of those people that they're talking about, they were also, quote unquote, undocumented bros. So there's that. That's one of the things that, kind of gets left off. Notice how out of that list of people that he listed, he miraculously didn't say Jamal. He didn't say Tyrone. He didn't say Pookie. He didn't say Ray Ray. But we commit all the crimes. This is a shameless plug. Crimecast returns next week.
The most powerful and ruthless and violent criminal organization in the world right now. They impact every community in Texas, Governor, as you know, and you've said a number of times, and every community in the United States. As other governors know, why they send resources here to help support your operations. You made it very clear in the beginning, operation detect and interdict transnational criminal activity between the ports of entry because Border Patrol was taken off the line. And we've done that working with Texas military forces and our other partners and at the local level, been able to interdict crime. But you've been also very clear about being proactive. What can we do with hold the line operations? And we've been doing those. And as the general can tell you, and those worked obviously, because nobody needs to be coming between the ports of entry. It's dangerous. Family units that come across the river between the ports of entry are risking themselves and their family members. They're putting themselves in harm's way. And the only one that benefits, the only one is enabled, enriched, and empowered are the Mexican cartels when that happens. And clearly, a strategy in terms of securing the border.
Now, how many people remember when earlier on in the migrant crisis, like last year, when they weren't talking about the cartels in relation to this? Now, then I read an article from USA Today, where the article from USA Today connected the activities of the cartel to the increase in illegal migrants. And do you guys remember I said eventually they're going to run out of options and they're going to eventually start talking about the cartel's involvement in this? Do you guys remember that? Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are at that point.
from the Mexican cartels and at the ports of entry and between the ports of entry matters in terms of the impact. What you see here is just another iteration, another tool. The razor wire has provided a mobile capability in using the resources and expertise of the Texas military. They can deploy it quickly right at the river to deter them from even risking themselves coming across. This is another iteration in terms of where the buoy is on the water itself. It can be quickly deployed and can be moved. All of these are mobile. And this idea, I'd like to tell you that the general and I thought about it because we're brilliant, Governor, but unfortunately that's not the case. The general is brilliant. I'm not so much. But the bottom line is Border Patrol is already working on this. This was something that Border Patrol had already looked at, designed, and even tested. Bortac had tested it. They've worked through this type of system. So, and they looked at the risk mitigation because it's not about risking. We don't want anybody to get hurt. In fact, we want to prevent people from getting hurt, prevent people from drowning. And this is a proactive way. And we're about to deploy the first 1,000 feet of it in Eagle Pass because right now the center of gravity for smuggling is Maverick County in the Eagle Pass area. And we don't want people to come across and continue to put themselves at risk when they go between the ports of entry.
So there's that. All right. So these are the things that Texas is putting into place that the United States government, the Biden administration, for the most part, is attempting to block, interestingly. Okay. So let's look at something else. I was gonna put something else up there, but I think we'll save that for a separate stream. Okay. I think we'll save that for a separate stream. So there was an article that CNN posted, and they posted this article 3 days ago. All right. And what it says is that Texas has until the end of today to stop blocking federal access to miles of U.S.-Mexico border. Now, here goes my question. Why would Texas stop blocking access to the U.S. federal, to the U.S.-Texas border when the federal government has not really done a good job with supporting Texas? What Texas is doing is Texas is taking matters into their own hands. And I don't think the federal government really likes that. I think the federal government wants to be in charge. And because Texas is taking these matters into their own hands, because the federal government won't do their job, it's making the federal government not only look bad, but it's taking control away from them. And I don't think they're really happy about that. And I got to agree with Black Free Thinker. Black Free Thinker says it's because the feds are running interference like an MF. That's facts. If you guys agree, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. And now my thing is, right, for people that may disagree with that, where's the evidence that shows that that's not true? If you ask me, there's more evidence that shows that the federal government is absolutely running interference than any evidence that shows that the federal government is not running interference. So now here it says a migrant surge continues to overwhelm authorities at the U.S.-Mexico border and in U.S. cities where many asylum seekers are being sent. Here are the latest developments. The Biden administration has given Texas until the end of Wednesday to stop blocking the U.S. Border Patrol's access to 2.5 miles along the U.S.-Mexico border. That includes the area where a woman and 2 children drowned after state authorities last week barred federal agents from the zone, according to Department of Homeland Security letter Sunday exclusively obtained by CNN. Now, I don't think that the federal Border Patrol would have been able to save that woman, but what they're doing is they're trying to posture like they would have, and they're saying that because the Texas state government blocked them from being able to access those areas, that is the Texas state government's fault that the migrants died, which I disagree with that logic. The letter to Texas Republican Attorney General Ken Paxton says the state's actions have impeded operations and are unconstitutional, and it cites the deaths among the latest in the ongoing migrant crisis near a city park, attributing the Rio Grande and Eagles Pass, where the state authorities have erected fencing and kept out federal agents. Now, this should be really easy to figure out because it should just be a matter of whose jurisdiction this is. And honestly, even though federal, the border crossing is a federal responsibility, I believe, right, if you ask me, acts that are done on Texas soil are within Texas state jurisdiction. So once that border has been crossed, I believe Texas is well within their rights to do whatever it is that they need to do. So now here it says the Department of Homeland Security warns it will, by the end of Wednesday, refer the matter to the Department of Justice for appropriate action and consider all other operations available to restore Border Patrol's access to the border. If Texas doesn't confirm, it will cease and desist its efforts to block Border Patrol's access in and around the Shelby Park area and remove all borders to access the U.S.-Mexico border, the letter states. Texas's failure to provide access to the border persists even in instances of imminent danger to life and safety. The letter from the Department of Homeland Security General Counsel Jonathan Mayer reads, Texas has demonstrated that even in the most exigent circumstances, it will not allow Border Patrol access to the border to conduct law enforcement and emergency response activities. What kind of law enforcement are they doing anyway? That's one of the big issues that everybody has, is that Texas, you know what I'm saying, that the federal government is not doing law enforcement. That's one of the big issues that everybody has to begin with. The big issue that everybody has to begin with is that the government is not doing law enforcement. So what are they talking about? Somebody make that make sense. Paxton on Wednesday doubled down on the state's action, saying Texas will not surrender in a statement issued by his office. Paxton responded to the federal government with a 3-page letter claiming Texas has constitutional authority to defend its territory, a power he plans to continue to fight for in the courts, according to the letter. In the letter, Paxton said Border Patrol personnel have access to Shelby Park to respond to medical emergencies. The Wednesday deadline marks the latest sign point of intensifying tensions between state and federal officials as the White House and lawmakers challenge Texas's policies, including a new law that makes entering the state illegally a state crime. Friction over the issue also has spilled into the states where migrants have been sent by Texas officials or otherwise have gone, and has prompted online anti-migrant rhetoric to swell. What are they calling online anti-migrant rhetoric? Let me ask you guys a question. Would this channel be considered online anti-migrant rhetoric? Because when have I ever said that I have an issue with migrants or I'm against migrants? Why are we not talking about this in terms of legal or illegal? There's different types of migrants and different types of migration. There's different types of immigrants and different types of immigration. We're specifically talking about criminal, illegal immigrants, illegal migrants. Why are we acting like there's only one blanket overall term that describes and characterizes all migration? Why is that being done, guys? Does that make any sense? That's one of the important things that I think that people should really do, is when they hear stuff like this, sit back and ask yourself the question, does this make sense? And I'm telling you, when you sit back and do that assessment and analyze it, in most cases, it won't make any sense. Shout out to Ty Valentine. What's good with it, bro? Carlton said they want us to speak like pliers. They want y'all to sit up here and talk like this. I don't know why y'all got a problem with the migrants, shouty. They willing to do more stuff than you for the country. If you willing to go through all that miles of barbed wire and all that. Oh, don't worry. We'll definitely be talking about the disgraceful situations going on with CSA at the airport, because I'm one of them individuals that's had to wait in all kinds of crazy lines and all that, and they just letting them people go through there, and you don't even know who the hell they are, but they want all kind of perfect IDs with no lamination messed up and all that. Man, listen, man. So now here says Supreme Court also weighs border access. The Biden administration has also asked the Supreme Court to intervene after Texas sued over Border Patrol agents' practice of removing razor wire put in place by the state along part of the border near Eagle Pass. Now, aside from the failures that the Biden administration has done at the border, them doing all of this extra stuff right here, this is probably another one of the reasons why the Abbott administration is blocking out access to the Border Patrol. Why would you allow the Biden administration in there if you know that all they're going to do is cut the wire? You've literally just installed this wire because the Biden administration is already doing a bad job and not securing the border the way that the border needs to be secured. Then you going to turn around and cut the wire that we put up because you're not doing your job. Of course I'm not going to let them in. Who would? Who in their right mind would let the Biden administration in down there? Who in their right mind would let them in? Make it make sense. So now here it says an appeals court ordered the agents to stop removing the wire while legal challenges play out. And the administration has asked the high court to step in on an emergency basis to wipe that order. The drownings Friday underscore that Texas is firm in its continued efforts to exercise complete control of the border and land and block the Border Patrol's access to the border, even in emergency circumstances. The Biden administration wrote late Monday in a filing to the Supreme Court in that case. But now what the Biden administration won't admit to is that when the Biden administration is there, they tamper with the systems that Texas puts in place as security. So the Biden administration is undermining Texas's sovereignty, if you ask me. How many people would agree that the Biden administration is undermining Texas's state sovereignty? If you guys would agree that that's actually a thing and that's actually going on, give me a thumbs up. If you guys would not agree with that and you don't think that that's a thing, then give me a thumbs down. So now here it says it's impossible to say what might have happened if Border Patrol had had its former access to the area, including through its surveillance trucks that assisted in monitoring the area, Solicitor General Elizabeth Prelogar wrote in the filing. At the very least, however, Border Patrol would have had the opportunity to take any available steps to fulfill its responsibilities and assist its counterparts in the Mexican government while undertaking the rescue mission, she continued. Texas made that impossible. The Texas Military Department, meanwhile, said by the time Border Patrol agents requested access to the site Friday night, the drownings had occurred. Mexican authorities were recovering the bodies, and Border Patrol expressed these facts to the TMD personnel on the site. At no time did TMD security personnel along the river observe any distressed migrants, nor did TMD turn back any illegal immigrants from the U.S. during this period, the Texas Military Department said. Also, at no point was TMD made aware of any bodies in the area of Shelby Park, nor was TMD made aware of any bodies being discovered on the U.S. side of the border regarding this situation. Far-right terms used in mass call to border. So what are we talking about here? Far-right terms used in mass call to border. What do you guys think that they're talking about there? What are they talking about right there? The federal-state border standoff in Texas has prompted members of a kind of group known for using demonizing rhetoric and intersecting with extremists to issue a call on social media for people to travel in Eagle Pass and protest. Who is this group? Who are they talking about? Who's doing this? Have any of you all come across this? Because I sure as hell haven't. I'm gonna just keep it real with you. I haven't. I'm gonna tell it to you just like how Plies would say, Shorty, I don't know what y'all talking about, Shorty. I ain't never seen nothing like that. Y'all sitting up here saying all this stuff. These folks be doing all this stuff they saying down there, but I ain't never seen nothing like that. Tell me saying all this stuff online all the time, saying all this stuff about these migrants. I ain't seen nothing like that. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it exactly how Plies would say it. I don't know what they talking about. Sure, they sit up there saying sometimes migrant extremist group. Because you know Plies would say an extremist group. I think say some type of extremist going on down there. I don't know nothing about no extremists. I got my own thing to worry about. I don't thing to worry about. You heard me? I don't know about no damn screamers. Okay. The federal state border standoff in Texas has prompted members of a kind of group known for using demonizing rhetoric and intersecting with extremists to issue a call on social media for people to travel to Eagles Pass in protest. This group is urging quote unquote patriots, so you already know what time they on if they're using that word, from across the country to go to Eagles Pass to demand that elected officials honor the oath of office to defend the border against a foreign invasion, according to a member's online video that employs the term quote unquote far right's use for the border crisis. This article is written like they trying to not violate YouTube community guidelines. What is the word that they're calling the border crisis? Is it the quote unquote I word? Like, is that hate speech now if you say invasion? Is that what we're doing out here? Let me know if that's what we're doing out here. A property owner will let the group set up tents, campers, and RVs, he says. These patriots, however, are misinformed about border security and immigration policy, said Texas State Representative Eddie Morales Jr., a Democrat who represents 11 counties in West Texas, including the city of Eagle Pass. Instead, they should camp outside Congress and demand lawmakers act on immigration, he said. Why would they do that? What would that do? The Republicans control the House of Representatives right now. If they were truly interested in solving this issue, they would fast track a border immigration and border security bill by tomorrow, Morales said. Yeah, they would secure it if they actually agreed with the terms. But clearly there's something in the terms that they don't agree with, which is why they haven't fast tracked it. Like, seriously? The mainstream media really thinks that people are stupid. Groups like this one use Patriot as part of their names have emerged since 2020 in an effort to get Donald Trump to form a third major political party. The Anti-Defamation League told CNN in a statement. So my question is, what community does the Anti-Defamation League represent? While such groups are not inherently extremist, they engage in demonizing rhetoric, far-right policy causes, and at times intersect with extremist groups and movements, it said. Now, why are they using such shadow language and not naming anybody? Who are we talking about? What's the name of the group? New GOP governor wants reports related to undocumented immigrants. Is that bad? But now here go my question. I mean, how you going to get a report about them if they're not documented? There won't be no documented information to report on. So make that make sense. So now here it says a state away, Louisiana's new Republican governor has directed state agencies to report any arrests or funds spent on undocumented immigrants. He mandated in an executive order signed Friday. So how many people knew that that was going on? Is Louisiana dealing with an undocumented bro issue as well? I didn't know that Louisiana was dealing with an undocumented bro issue. Did you guys? I was not aware. The cost of illegal immigration in this state is falling on the shoulders of hardworking Louisianans, Governor Jeffrey Landry said in a statement on Tuesday. This executive order will analyze data to determine the financial burden our citizens are being forced to carry because of those who do not follow the law. Louisiana will always welcome those who legally immigrate, but taxpayers cannot continue to foot the bill for individuals who break the law and skip the line. Now, my question is, what's the problem with that statement there? Why are they so upset that somebody said that? I don't think that statement is a cause for offense. Do you guys? I don't think that that's a cause for offense at all. Make it make sense. The heads of every executive branch in the state must provide within 120 days a report to the governor's office detailing any use of public funds directly or indirectly to or for the benefit of illegal aliens, the order says. The governor directs the commissioner of the Department of Public Safety and Corrections and the superintendent of the Louisiana State Police to provide monthly reports on the number of people charged or convicted of a criminal offense and to note whether they are documented or undocumented according to the order. So now my question is, why is it upsetting to people that people are interested in this information and they want to know this information? I don't understand why this is a problem. Like, what's interesting about this is that this right here is just simply a measure to gather information. It's not even guaranteeing any fines or penalties. So now my question is, why are people so outraged by it? Make it make sense. The governor directs the commissioner of the Department of Public Safety and Corrections and the superintendent of the Louisiana State Police to provide monthly reports on the number of people charged or convicted of a criminal offense and note whether they are documented or undocumented according to the order. Law enforcement is also directed in the order to regularly publish to the public data regarding arrest and convictions of illegal aliens, their nationality, their offense, and whether charged or convicted, and report any known or suspected gang affiliation for arrested undocumented immigrants and where they are arrested. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's what we have going on in Texas. We actually have more going on in Texas. The only problem is that as of right now, we just don't have more time. All right. But I want to let you guys know that I do appreciate the time that you all did spend with me. So shout out to you all. Definitely appreciate each and every one of you all. If you're not subscribed to the Twitter, that's extremely important. Make sure that you take a moment, subscribe to the Twitter, Undocumented. The links are in the chat. The link is also in the description box. Make sure you hit that bell icon if you're not subscribed. Help us get to 500. Share the stream to your social media. And as always, ladies and gentlemen,